Today I'm going to be showing off my collection of hammers, starting with the oldest, which is this claw hammer. It's got stainless steel handle with rubberized grip. It is a little cheapo, but it served its purpose. It's a damn 12-ounce hammer, light round the house hammer. It's alright. Then got this Stanley claw hammer. It's been a bit abused, but it's a hammer. Hammers are kind of meant to be abused. It's got fiberglass handle on it. I don't know the weight, but it is significantly heavier than the one I just showed you. Another roundabout hammer. I think they're called finishing hammers sometimes because they have the smooth head, so it doesn't mar surfaces as much as other hammers, which I'll show you later. Then there's this little ball peen hammer with a hickory handle. Actually says hickory right there. This is actually the first hammer I bought when I moved down to Oregon. I believe this is also a 12-ounce head. It's a very small ball peen hammer. It also has the flat rounded surface. You know, there's none of the checkering that's on other hammers. Good hammer, good for beginning smithing with. If you want to do rivets, you take and use the ball peen on it to round over the rivets. Sorry, I'm sweating like crazy. It's a very hot day in Oregon. It's supposed to get up to 85 degrees today, and yeah, I sweat a lot when it gets hot. Now, this next one isn't mine, it's my brother's. It's an old model Estwing rock hammer with the chisel point on it. Sorry, my toolbox just fell shut. But my brother got this for free. He found it in a ditch. So it's still very usable. We had to take and wrap the end because it's missing one of the, you can see the leather discs are starting to separate. There. It's a really old model because normally this is supposed to be a very light tan with darker rings in it. I can just barely make out which used to be which, but just like I can make out that this is one of the plastic spacer pieces. I think there's supposed to be 4 on it to separate the different colored sections on the Estwing hammers. And alright, just realized it actually does have like stamp on the bottom plate, but I can't make out most of it, so you guys won't be able to make it out with my camera because my camera's not very good. It says Ralco, Annandale, MN. I think that's Minnesota. Can't remember. Made in USA. Oh, it's got a weight here. 18-ounce head. Okay, so it's got an 18-ounce head. But this is a great hammer all around. I mean, it's not great for like pulling nails because it's not meant for that. It's meant for like, have you ever heard the term rock hounding? where you go out on hikes looking for like crystals and stuff out in the woods. Ugh, sorry, I'm sweating like crazy. Just a second. Oh, and the heat's breaking up the snot in my nose, so I've got a runny nose. Ugh, sorry, but this is great for. It would also be great for like rock climbing or driving. I can't remember the word, but they're stakes that go in the side of cliffs to hold you in place. I think it starts with a P. I don't remember the word though. For the life of me, I can't remember the word because I don't rock climb because I'm terrified of heights. I'm not good with heights. I'm a tall dude, yeah, but I don't like being more than 4 feet off the ground at any given time on account of I'm clumsy, extremely clumsy. I mean, I broke my foot falling off 3 steps. I'm clumsy. It's just a fact of life. But yeah, this is my brother's favorite find from when he was out hiking and walking about because he was just walking home from school and saw this little bit of metal sticking out of the ground in the ditch. So he hopped in and ta-da! Ooh, hammer. But yeah, Estwing doesn't even make these models anymore. They've all got the very pointy tip on them now for their rock hammers, which I think is a bit of a shame. I mean, it works great, but I think this model should still be made because they have different purposes. I mean, with this one, you can kind of pry things with it, like you can drive it into a rock and then pry easier with it. I mean, with the really pointy one, it's it's a lot more like a pick than a rock than this chisel is. I mean, I guess you could potentially use this for masonry work, like making walls out of stone with mortar, I believe it is. It's like cement, basically. Sorry, I'm confused today. Probably because it's hot. I'm not good with hot. But yeah, this is my brother's favorite hammer, and I get to use it occasionally. But eh, oh well. Then good. This lump hammer on a very short handle. It's a 3 pound head. Normally these are on much longer handles because hell, I don't even remember the reason they're on longer handles. Just a sec. It's leverage. That's why it gives you more leverage and more range of motion and momentum, so it hits harder. But I guess someone decided they liked it with the short handle. I don't mind. It's actually rather comfortable. Huh. It says Cullop on it. Cullop. Cullop. And then down on the bottom it says China 3 pound. I don't care that it's made in China. I got it for $3. It's a 3 pound head. It's not like it's gonna be defective. It's actually made very well. It's an extremely thick-walled head, and then it's got the two. I believe these are step wedges, but they may not be in the handle in the T shape, which spreads the top of the handle more and keeps it very secure. I've not had any issues with it, considering I bought it at a second-hand store. Lots of people do it. I do it. Some of you would undoubtedly buy stuff at secondhand stores, but it's a very good hammer still. Definitely works. Yeah, but you may also notice that its shape is reminiscent of the typical Mjolnir, which is actually very intentional because in the stories in the Poetic Edda, which is like the Norse Bible, describing Thor's hammer, they're describing a lump hammer with a moderately long handle. It's probably, let me show you, it was probably about this long, which is great length for it. But the way they normally describe it, it's like it has a 10 or maybe 15 or 20 pound head on it, and it was supposed to be extremely long. But during the forging of Mjolnir, Loki was pestering the dwarfs that were making it for a solid week during the finishing process. And on the last day, one of the dwarves actually reacted to Loki, who was in the form of a mosquito. I forgot to mention that. Loki was being a mosquito and stinging the two dwarf brothers that were forging Mjolnir. And on the last day, the one dwarf brother actually swatted at him, and in doing so, ended up getting slag on the handle, which cut it short. It was originally, supposedly, it was originally going to be on like a 3 or 4 foot haft, but it ended up being on a haft that is roughly 2 feet. So, because they were on a time limit, they couldn't take and reforge it. So, they had to take and just finish it up with a. In most of the old stories, it's described as having an iron cap on the butt with a ring in it. And in a few of the stories, I've seen it described as more of a maul with like a splitting maul with an actual like axe edge on one side. But most of the time, it is described as this typical lump hammer shape, which is great for doing lots of things. It's great for woodwork, great for stonework. It's a good hammer. Okay, enough about the lump hammer. Then I've got my sledge, which I am not sure of the weight on it, but I think it's a 6 or 8 pound sledge. With this originally did have a longer handle. This is very intentionally cut down and then rounded off, because originally the handle had a swell at the end, because at one point I did have a replacement sledge hammer handle, but I ended up giving it to a friend who needed it more because the handle on his tool broke. So I had it. I didn't actually have a use for it. I just bought it because I bought it when I was up in northeastern Washington, and I didn't even have a mole. I don't even know why I bought it, aside from it felt good in my hands, like a good crap. How to describe it? It was a great feeling shaft, and it felt like it had good weight for like a not a walking stick, but like a shillelagh. Yeah, that's what. But back to the topic at hand. This I got so I could eventually use it as a smithing hammer for the heavier. Most smiths have multiple hammers. I mean, it's rather impractical to make like a dagger with heavy ass hammer, so they often have heavy hammers for doing heavy duty work and then lighter hammers for finishing work. But that's why I got this. It was cheap. I found it at a yard sale. I'm not going to say the price. Just great hammer. Nick it back in the mailbox with you. Then I picked up a smithing hammer. This is a cross peen hammer, which I know that, yeah, it's a light one, but I know I could potentially use this as part of a fullerene die system once I get all the stuff necessary for a forge, forge, anvil, quenching tanks. Possibly, I'm not going to bother with the smelter because that would take too long. I do know how to make swords and daggers and spearheads and arrowheads and various other things. I don't know how to do axes. I never studied them, but I did study. I studied basically every form of European blade making, and then my mom told me about how to make cable Damascus and actual Damascus, so I do know how to do it. I just haven't. I do know how to do it in theory, I guess I should say, because I haven't actually done any of it. But this is a good light smithing hammer, probably a finishing hammer for smithing, which I want to get into smithing eventually, so it'd be necessary. That's why I got it. It's also why I got this, actually. I got this as a smithing hammer as well. Because, like I said, you need multiple size hammers for smithing. And I've got these that are all around tools. This rip hammer. Yeah, I know it's rusty. It was rusty when I bought it. And this is my loaner hammer that I let anyone use. It's been abused, it's rusty, but it's still solid. It has a fiberglass handle on it as well. It was wrapped with red, white, and blue electrical tape, but I didn't really like it, so I just wrapped it in this black electrical tape because I like black. And this is I can't make out the weight on it, but it feels like 24 to 30 ounces in weight. It's a great size hammer for a claw rip hammer, not a claw hammer. I've also seen them called framing hammers or roofing hammers because that's what they're used for the most, because they've got the long handle and the heavy head, and it's great for doing framing or roofing because it helps drive in the nails faster, because you've got the long handle, which is a lever, your hand's the fulcrum, and then impact point has the mass. Sorry. At least I think that's how the math works. I may be wrong. But this is my loaner rip hammer, and then I've got my personal rip hammer, which is a Husky rip hammer. It's made a lot like an Estwing. It says wear safety goggles. This is a 20 ounce, but it actually feels heavier than that one, probably because of the solid steel tang construction. If you don't know how Estwings are made, there's a video of it on YouTube. I think it's under I think it was under the How It's Made channel, like the series that was on Discovery, and they post. Yeah. I'm rambling again, sorry. Damn, nearly 20 minutes. Sorry. Only one more hammer to go, though. And this one is a finishing hammer because it doesn't have the, oh crap, forgot to show the checkered pattern on the framing hammer. If I remember right, it's checkered so that you don't slip off if you're hitting a nail, because this one can occasionally slip off nail heads, I believe. I think that's what Wrangler Star said too about the difference between checkered and smooth heads on hammers. But this is my personal hammer. I don't let anyone use it. I hardly ever use it. Namely because I use the loaner one if I'm doing outside work, and I haven't had to do any inside work with this, which is another rip hammer. Actually, it's about halfway between a rip and a claw hammer. Because here's the rip hammer. It is almost a 90-degree there and a very slight bend in the head. But this is about halfway between a rip and a claw, which is good for me because I don't really like claw hammers. I think that it doesn't give you the right amount of leverage if you're pulling nails, which this will. And yeah, this one's definitely a finishing head. So you could like hang sheetrock with this without doing too much surface damage to the sheetrock. But this is one of my favorite hammers. My Husky finish hammer. And then I've got an actual Estwing that I picked up a few days ago. I'm aware it's rusty. I found it at a secondhand store for $5, and this is definitely an older one because of the handle shape. It's a lot bulkier than the new ones, so it provides more shock resistance, like impact vibration resistance, because this is a nylon handle. It says nylon there. Don't know if you can make it out. I'm not good with the angles just yet because of where my light is. It's in the middle of the room, and I have to have my camera set so I catch as much light as possible, but I can never get the angle right when I try to do close-ups. This is a drywall or shingle hammer hatchet hybrid. It is blunt right now, and you can see that rectangle of rust right there. It's because when I bought it, it still had part of the cover bolted to it. Because when they're sold in hardware stores, they have this little plastic metal contraption that is clapped over the blade here and has a little hook so it can hang on off of the crap. I don't know what they're called. The bars that are in the pegboards, so all the hangers hang off of them. I mean, a lot of the times they'll be mounted like this with the little plastic flappy thing. But it also has the price tag on it usually, the barcode for scanning. But I've been looking for a long time to get an Estwing. It's just they've usually been out of my budget. I got this for $5. And yeah, it's rusty, but I've never owned an Estwing tool. I mean, my brother's got the Estwing, the old Estwing rock hammer, but this is my own Estwing. It even still says Estwing right there. I don't know if I have European viewers, but Estwing is an American company that does solid steel construction tools with either an injection molded nylon handle or a stacked leather handle. The stacked leather handle, of course, is obviously more expensive. They're usually in the $60 to $70 range for the normal series with the stacked leather handle. They have special edition ones which have like a black finish on them and a different type of leather. I mean, the this one is probably just basic cow leather or bovine leather, and I don't know what type of leather they use on the special edition ones, but it's not the same. It has different coloration and it ends up with a different finish. It's, don't get me wrong, they're lovely tools, but I'm not willing to spend like $100 on a hammer. I know there are guys out there that'll spend $100 on a hammer, especially if they're the titanium hammers, which I'd love to have one, but that's outside my price range. I'm not going to spend $100 on a hammer when there are other things when I can get stuff for, when I can get a hammer for $5. I'm not going to spend $100. It's crazy to me. But then again, I have a very limited amount of money to spend on excess stuff every month, because I limit myself. I have poor impulse control, so I only keep X amount of money in my wallet when I go to like hardware stores or stuff, which I have to do sometime this week to pick up bolts so I can finish my work on my Billy Club. Oh damn, this is my longest video to date. Didn't mean for it to be, but I'm gonna cut myself off before I go into ramble mode again. So have a nice day, YouTube, and damn, I don't have an outro yet, but have a nice day. Hope the weather's more comfortable where you are. And I'm signing out.